Let's bring in Tammy Bruce now, Fox News contributor. Tammy, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yep.
What do you make of all of it?
Well, it seems very strange to me that they talk about national security issues and they've got to be vetted and people have to know and have to check to make sure there's nothing really serious in them. And they're using Gmail. They're using, open public servers for these alias emails, which should be the first things available to the public, should be immediately made when you're using an alias or a pseudonym. There is a reason for that. The American people deserve to know. If it's to keep your email box not from being so overflowing, why not use Barack Obama at gmail.com? But they don't, and they converse with these fake names. So let's not talk about national security and that they've got to vet them when these were emails that were clearly not secured or moved through any kind of secured network. It's one of the reasons Hillary's server was an issue, right? She wanted to avoid this dynamic. But if there's thousands and there's some backlog, they will try to push this off for years, and they may be successful unless the Republicans step up and sue and get this to the Supreme Court.
Well, they are pushing. We know that. You just heard from James Comer. Meanwhile, the president was asked about this, Tammy, yesterday. He was speaking at FEMA headquarters about the storm. He laughed off a question about those bank records. This happened yesterday. Listen.
You want to talk to me about...
To Congress,
do you want let's talk about why I'm here.
So how much longer do you believe this White House can avoid answering questions on this?
Well, when the Democrat Party turns on him, obviously he can laugh it off because he's been protected for 50 years. There's no reason why he thinks any of this will move. You see the legacy media, it's not even covering it in, let's say, a sensitive way, but if they cover it at all. So you'll see more and more happening. When he acknowledged his granddaughter, it was only when the New York Times, when you had that editorial piece condemning him for that. So there's certain signals in the legacy media, this is what goes on in our country, that tells the most powerful man in the world what he should be doing. So that's what we have to look for. That's the only time it'll happen.
As far as the whistleblowers, obviously, and their claims being stonewalled when there is request for more information, this is the IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley's lawyer saying that Garland essentially called his client a liar. Listen.
Attorney General Garland has essentially called Supervisory Special Agent Shapley a liar in not those words, but in essence saying that Weiss has always had this authority, and Weiss has sent nuanced letters, but trying to follow the lead of the Attorney General. Garland has put himself in the unenviable position of making a lot of representations that have one by one proven not to be fully accurate.
If that's a case, a tough position to be. The Wall Street Journal op-ed with this. The Justice Department's politicized Hunter Biden probe, evidence of improper interference by Attorney General Merrick Garland's department keeps piling up. Tammy?
Well, something being politicized, look, everything's politicized, right? This is our government. The difference is when we see it being used to deflect any kind of real justice. That's what the American people don't like. We're not dumb. We don't think everybody here is, thinking only the best and will always do the right thing. And politics is politics. But we see it being weaponized. I know that's a word that's being used a lot because, frankly, now they're being blatant with it. There's efforts to stop investigations, efforts to smear perhaps whistleblowers, efforts to keep people from getting to the Bidens or looking. So that's when the system begins to be used as a defense mechanism for one party or a few people when it's supposed to be for all of us and to keep our system safe and reliable and something we can trust.
Meanwhile, the ongoing migrant crisis, people are affected all over the country today. Massachusetts Democrat Governor Maura Healey is now ordering the National Guard to help at emergency shelters because of the overwhelming number of migrants in her state. And we know New York is facing its own migrant mess. Democratic leaders there are pointing fingers at the feds.
Questioning our capabilities while withholding the crucial resources that we have asked for does not reflect the American solidarity we have consistently demonstrated. We need the federal government to respond to us just like we are responding to them, not with just critiques, but with actions.
The White House deflected when asked about why President Biden has not met with New York Governor Kathy Hochul yet.
There's a lot going on, and his chief of staff was part of that meeting. I believe Secretary Mayorkas was part of that meeting. Some of his very high-level senior staff participated in the meeting with the governor. Every time we're in New York, the president, practically every time, the president engages with the governor. So they have a very good relationship. Look, the president has a lot on his plate.
How do you interpret that?
Well, there's been a lot of question about who's running the country. Maybe it is the chief of staff. All right, we just really don't know. But what's interesting here is that New York has a massive homeless problem. It has a massive, we see it on the street. It's not just California, San Francisco, et cetera. It is New York. It is Los Angeles. And that's why when you try to have a strong society, so if there is an unusual thing that happens, like the migrant crisis, you can handle it. What this is being set up for is federal money, more tax dollars being distributed to these particular states, which still have a crisis, still don't utilize money properly, still don't help people who are living on the street. But there are New Yorkers living on the street still, while migrants are living in hotels. Yeah. And with Massachusetts, 20,000 migrants, their average homeless population is about between 15 and 20,000 people. And if they're going to use the National Guard to help with services for the migrants, what about services for the people of Massachusetts who are living on the street? So we get into this weird thing about where the priorities are, where the money is being spent, and why are Americans living in tents and on the street, on drugs, with nowhere to go, and the migrants are being treated in a very, very different manner.
This is right down the street, by the way, this scene that we're playing out on the screen right now.
Exactly.
This is dated August 2nd. I drove by there just 2 days ago, and it doesn't look much different. This has been going on for quite some time, and those people that's all around the block there, that Roosevelt Hotel. This is the press secretary to the president, asked about this in the middle of all this, blame that is going around. She said this yesterday.
Look, the president has done what he can from here while he's taking steps on his own. Republicans have made this an incredibly political issue. They have turned this into into political stunts that we have seen over and over and over again.
So, Tammy, she's blaming Republicans for the border mess. And by the way, these are the border crossings, and boy, are they up and continue to go up. This is Southwest border encounter numbers. They do show and reveal that in May, there were more than 200,000 encounters, 144,000 in June, and the numbers are ticking back up, 183,000 in July. The fiscal year to date, Customs and Border Patrol have reported more than 1.9 million encounters. That's almost reaching 2 million now.
And those are the encounters. What we have to be concerned about is what are they not catching? Yeah. And these are, again, you've got a dynamic where there's clearly an open border. There is no vetting, right? You have people saying templates about how they need asylum, and that's checked, and then you're told to come back for a hearing in 5 or 6 months. And this is ruining not just, of course, crime is going up. It's ruining those people's lives who find themselves in a dynamic where they're waiting outside, hoping for a hotel room, and then maybe becoming effectively the equivalent of indentured servants when they get a job for $15 an hour and are told to go find an apartment maybe, or maybe they'll be housed in some kind of factory fashion. We don't know, but the system can't handle this right now. So you've got crime going up. Those individuals, the sex trafficking still, the drugs, what's happening with women and children, people indeed looking for a better life, being used as political pawns. It is complete chaos. And for some reason, the Democrats think this is useful. I've said from the start that this in some ways was punishment for the people who supported Trump and Trump for caring about the border, for that being a major issue for the country, was to say, as abusers do, they're going to hurt the thing you care about most. And this seems to be what's unfolding. But I think that all of this is performative in a way from these Democrat cities because they want federal money to flow in because their budgets are awful. And who knows what it would really go to.
Well, what we know for certain is that it's a massive and growing number of people that are coming into the country. And it is now no longer just a border state or a border community issue. It is all over the country right now. Major political issue heading into the election. Tammy Bruce, thank you.
My pleasure.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.